Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Pearson webinar on our Apprenticeship Product Awareness webinar for the business sector. My name's Nathan Cookson and I'm the Sector Manager here at Pearson for the business sector. My responsibility at Pearson is primarily around product management of our suite of business sector products, which includes qualifications, apprenticeships, and a range of product services and content that support those apprenticeships and qualification products. The purpose of this webinar today is really to share a high-level overview of the products and services available from Pearson in the business sector to support you and your apprentices around their apprenticeship journey. We've had some feedback very recently from customers who are at various stages of their apprenticeship journey, really that they would value some high-level guidance around the products and services that are available for you to acquire from Pearson, whether that's free of charge or our paid for content. So really the purpose of this webinar is to present a high level overview of those. We're not going to go in a great amount of detail, but there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions and to talk to your account managers and BDMs after this webinar. Before we go into the webinar, just a tiny bit of housekeeping. The slides will be available and a video of the slides will be available after the end of this webinar. If you have any questions, please do type them into the chat window, and what I'll aim to do is when we get a sufficient number of questions built up, I will pause the webinar and spend some time asking those questions. Please do ask any question about the products and services we're talking about today. I will try my best to answer those. If there's anything that requires additional information, we'll go away and we'll provide the responses perhaps in a Q&A session or to you directly. So to progress, within the business sector, there are a number of apprenticeships, new apprenticeship standards that Pearson are approved for on the apprenticeship register of apprenticeship assessment organisations, and those standards are highlighted in this slide. So for example, in the business administration route, we have 3 specific standards, the ones you would expect to see: business administrator, ops manager, and team leader. In the sales, marketing and procurement route, we have the customer service practitioner and the retailer. We are also engaged in the customer service specialist standard. We do offer a number of other endpoint assessments and apprenticeship products in other areas. For example, we delivered a health and social care and health sector new standard update earlier today. We do offer in various other sectors, and like I said, please do contact your point of contact at Pearson to talk about those. But the purpose of today is to really highlight the products that we've got available to support you around on-program and endpoint assessment in the business sector, specifically the top 4. 1 minute, I'm just going to pause. Apologies for that. We've just had a couple of questions around difficulties with some people on the webinar hearing. If you are having any difficulties, please do fire those in the chat window, and my colleague who's supporting on this webinar will try and resolve that for you. So apologies for that. Picking up where we left off, our solutions around new apprenticeship standards primarily focus on how we can support you on program and endpoint assessment. And within this webinar, we're going to talk about those various different solutions. In the main, they are the use of qualifications to support on program, and learning resources and content structured around both the on program and endpoint assessment. And as I said in the earlier slide, you've probably seen this visual a number of times, but really what it does, it just highlights the end-to-end apprenticeship journey for your apprentices, and the specific blue boxes really look at the areas where we aim to provide products and services and content to support you in the delivery of on-program learning. And as you'll see there, in the main, that's qualifications, paid for digital learning resources, as well as your functional skills, English and maths. We're slowly building our training support offer and how we are supporting you and your apprentices from the beginning with endpoint assessment in mind, all the way through that journey to assessment gateway and successful endpoint assessment. And inclusive in our offer is, as you would expect, endpoint assessment, high quality endpoint assessments that are bespoke to each new apprenticeship standard that Pearson are on the register for. In regards to on-program delivery, the three areas that we're going to cover in terms of highlighting our available products and services to support you are to look at our on-program qualification offer, how we've built apprenticeship handbooks, so essentially learning textbooks to support both the apprenticeship standards, but also the on-program qualifications that Pearson have created and are continuing to create, but also to look at an exciting digital platform that Pearson are working on called Apprentice 360, which essentially is coming soon, but we think it's going to be an excellent tool to support you in the delivery of on-program learning and preparing apprentices for gateway and endpoint assessment. It's important to understand that these are not mandated support products that you have to undertake when working with Pearson around apprenticeships, but they are designed to be complementary and flexible and allow you to deliver the learning in a tailored way to meet the needs of your apprentices. So what you may do is take a pick and mix approach. You may decide that actually all three solutions really work for your organization and your apprentices. So touching on program qualifications, as you'll be aware, within the majority of business sector new apprenticeship standards, qualifications have not been mandated into the apprenticeship standards. The feedback we've been receiving from customers essentially since the start of new apprenticeships, which is several years ago, is that there is a demand still from employers and from providers, and certainly from apprentices and parents of apprentices, around the value and the currency that on-program qualifications provide apprentices. So what we've been doing over the past 12 to 18 months is creating a suite of I'll call them optional qualifications for the business sector, because they are exactly that, optional qualifications that are designed to support the technical knowledge, skills and behaviours within the apprenticeship standards. In terms of those qualifications, we focused on two specific areas. We've designed a certificate size qualification and also a diploma size qualification. So for example, if you are working with a business administrator level 3 apprentice, there are two qualifications that sit and align very nicely to that apprenticeship standard that you may think or you may deem actually are really valuable to your delivery, but also to recognise the skills, knowledge and behaviours of your apprentices. The first one being something we call certificate, as you would expect. The certificate has been aligned to the 20% off the job requirements of the new apprenticeship standards, and what we mean there is that it's a small size qualification and it's designed specifically to cover those areas of the standard that would typically align best to the delivery of off-the-job training. And what we mean there is the technical and behavioural knowledge that underpins the job role. So what we've created for all of those standards highlighted at the beginning is a certificate size qualification that supports technical behavioural knowledge and understanding of the apprenticeship standard, and the size of them approximately equates to what you would expect to see in a 20% off the job program based on the size of the apprenticeship and its duration. Extending that further, we've also created diplomas. The diplomas, again, they cover the same elements of the certificate. So they cover the development and application of technical behavioural knowledge that underpins the job role, but they also align to the full apprenticeship standards. So they cover those skills areas within the apprenticeship standards. The feedback we were getting from customers we're engaging with is actually the apprenticeship standards are brief, and it's very nice to have those assessment plans that support endpoint assessment, but what's required really is a structured framework to support delivery of apprenticeship standards, and the diploma does exactly that. I mean, when you look at the specifications, you'll see they're very much designed in a qualification specification way, but they will support you, should you wish to choose them, in creating a framework for the delivery of your full apprenticeship program leading up to Gateway, in a very familiar way to what a lot of training providers and apprenticeship training providers are used to. In addition to the skills and knowledge, there are also some really good units within those qualifications that touch upon behaviours, and we've noticed when kind of reviewing competitor offerings out there that behaviours tend to often be missed. So we've built some really interesting units specifically in the certificate that look at embedding behavioural and recognising behavioural knowledge and skills very early into the qualification. So please do have a look at those. And some of the benefits of those qualifications for both providers, employers and apprentices are listed here. I'm not going to go through them all because you've got the slides in front of you, and you'll be able to access these slides post-webinar. But just picking out a couple of those, they provide the evidence to meet the 20% off the job. And so what I mean to say is they support you in evidencing the 20% off the job. They're also a great tool for ensuring that apprentices, when they get to Gateway, can demonstrate through successful, I guess, formative assessment that they're ready for endpoint assessment, that they actually are achieving what's required within the apprenticeship standard. So it's a really good way to structure delivery in a phased way leading up to Gateway. In terms of benefits for apprentices, we spoke about this earlier, but I think one of the strong benefits here is actually that formal recognition and certification for apprentices. Yes, of course, they achieve that upon successful endpoint assessment, but this is also a really good way to recognise their achievement for a qualification and the currency that qualification offers, particularly at a time where there still is that sense of nervousness around the currency of the apprenticeship certificate, and while that recognition is growing, these qualifications support that. I think one of the things they also offer that benefit for phased recognition. So you've got your functional skills, English and maths accreditation and recognition. You're then progressing to a qualification recognition, and finally, then I guess the pinnacle is your apprentices achieving their endpoint assessment and their apprenticeship certificate. And just to highlight a few of those qualifications that are available on our website, and the link is also included in this slide. We've created them for the administration, the customer service practitioner, team leader, and operations departmental manager. These have been mapped to the content of the apprenticeship standards, and like I say, are available on our website for you to access and seek approval for. Expanding our offer further, we've also created, in partnership with our Pearson publishing team, something we call Apprenticeship Handbooks, and you'll see the visual there on the right hand side. These are very much we would call course companions. So they're designed to support your apprentices by providing engaging learning content that is mapped to the standard. And within that learning content, there's also assessment activities around skills, knowledge, and also how to apply behaviours. And those activities are included in the workbook. Essentially, it's an enrichment tool for your apprentice. And what we do know is that even though Pearson and many organisations are shifting to a digital offer, there is still a significant proportion of the market that do like to hold a physical textbook. There's certain sectors actually where it's safer and more practical to hold a textbook in the workplace than potentially access an online or digital platform. So these have been designed for that purpose. They're really good, and again, the link is there for you to go and have a look and download a sample of these handbooks. They can be purchased in a one-off basis for your apprentices, both in hard copy but also via Active Book, which is essentially a digital copy of the textbook, and you can also purchase a license to acquire large volumes of the Active Learn book that obviously relates then to a kind of a small discount based on bulk, but we think they're really good and we think they're really valuable. At this moment, I'm just going to take a pause to see if there's any questions. So the first question is, when will the Business and Administration Handbooks be available? Business and Administration publish date has been moved from April to May, and today still not available to buy. So that's a really good question, and I'm going to follow that one up for you, because I had a dialogue with Pearson Publishing, our colleagues, who advised that actually from yesterday, from Monday, these workbooks, these handbooks will be available to order from our warehouse. I actually have one right in front of me now, so please do try again to see if they're available. If they're not, please do send us an email or contact us directly, and the contact details will be at the end of this webinar, and we'll follow that up for you. But just to reinforce, they are available now. They came into the warehouse literally Monday of this week. Another question, do the qualifications provide stretch and challenge for learners who have been in the role for some times? Really good question again. I would say absolutely. Whilst they are aligned to the content of the apprenticeship standard, one of the purpose of the qualifications and the research we done was to ensure that the qualifications prepare learners to be competent in the broader sector. And what I mean is to have that transferability when they potentially leave their employer, which I'm not recommending, by the way. I mean, that's not the purpose, but what it does is to ensure they've got that transferability for when they leave their employer and to go and work somewhere else, which is likely to happen at some point. So it's about offering broader for example, customer service, broader skills, knowledge, and understanding in customer service that is also externally facing and not just internally facing within the organization, but at the same time they will still align to the apprenticeship standard and support your apprentices leading up to Gateway. What I would say with those qualifications is please don't use those qualifications as the only source to prepare learners for endpoint assessment. They're designed to support apprentices in knowledge, skills and understanding and job competence. What we do recommend, strongly recommend, is that they are delivered alongside the endpoint assessment specifications we've created, because what you also want to ensure, and it's absolutely critical, is that your apprentices are preparing for endpoint assessment from the onset, and to do that, one solution is absolutely use the qualifications, but in parallel to the content within our endpoint assessment specifications. So I hope that answers the question. Okay, so to move on, so please, like I said at the beginning, if you do have any more questions, please do send them through and we will pick them up. Similar to the qualifications, there are a number of benefits for providers and employers and apprentices. Again, I'm not going to go through all of these. They're there for you to look and share within your organizations at your own time, but again, they're visually appealing textbooks. They're not just words. There's visuals in there, there's activities, there's various different learning resources that you can refer to. Like I said, they are designed to drive the technical content for the off-the-job training, but there is that element of skill and activities in there. So I hope they're useful for you. Apprentice 360. So you've probably heard this been batting around for quite some time, but it's an area there where Pearson are significantly investing in the next few months and have been in the previous months. And what Apprentice 360 is, it's a digital learning platform that's designed to deliver engaging, accessible, interactive and personalized learning experience for apprentices. I was recently at the AAC conference where there was a number of different learner management systems on show, which were fantastic. But what they didn't include was actually that learning content, that bespoke, off-the-shelf learning content that you can use to deliver to your apprentices. And that's one of the purpose of Apprentice 360. We are creating, aligned to both the apprenticeship standards and the qualifications, the digital learning content that you can use. You may have heard this organization before, Skillpool. They're a market-leading digital content expert who we're working in partnership to create this digital learning content for you. And within App 360, I bullet pointed a number of different things there that it will include. It's animated videos, infographics, comic strips, quizzes, feedback, and various templates that you can use to provide that blended learning experience. But similar to the qualifications, what I would say is using Apprenticeship 360 is not going to completely prepare your apprentices for endpoint assessment. It's an additional tool that you can use to supplement your existing learning program that you're delivering to apprentices. And there are a number of benefits for the various different stakeholders that I could probably put on about 5 or 10 slides, but a number of them are here. So for providers, they're mapped to Pearson's on-program qualifications. The content is bespoke. It's been designed by experts. There's also some great functionality in there around tracking learner progress and achievement, which you would expect to see. And what we're going to do, we're not going to sit on our laurels with Apprentice 360. We are going to continue to build new content and improve its functionality as it goes. Benefits for employers, a number of bullet points there, but again, managers and workplace mentors can access this material. They can look at the tracking of the learner progress, and they can be involved in the apprentice's journey. I think a really strong point of App 360 is that much of the kind of content, the core content, can be delivered via App 360, meaning actually that the employer can spend more time on those high value direct contact learning opportunities as opposed to the delivery of, I guess, that chalk and talk type activity. For the apprentice, as you would expect, it's accessible from a desktop or a mobile device. It has to be visually stimulating, so there's a good blend of text, there's a good blend of animations and kind of knowledge transfer in those videos, and we'll show you a real small snippet in a moment. And what we're focusing on as well in App 360 is behavioural content. So at Pearson, we've designed a behavioural framework that supports pretty much all of the new apprenticeship standards. We're seeing, whilst written in different ways, we're seeing the same kind of behavioural elements, those transferable skills and personal effectiveness skills that are needed in the modern workplace across all of those standards. So in addition to supporting each of the new standards with bespoke content, we're also creating a behavioural digital learning content actually that will facilitate all apprenticeship standards. It's really exciting stuff, and we can't wait to share more information with you about that. So I'm just going to show you it's literally a 40-second video now. It may whet your appetite, but after this presentation, what we'll also share with you is in our communications is a link where you can access it. It's a 5-minute video, I believe, of App 360, and it will give you a good taster of what's to come. If you do have any questions around App 360, at this point in time, it's probably best to direct those to your account manager or your business development manager so that we can have a more detailed conversation with you and to talk about timelines. But I'll click this video and hopefully it works for you. So like I said, a very, very, I'm about to play it again for you. Let me get rid of that. You don't want to see it again. A very, very short taster of what's to come around App 360, and that essentially gives you a good indication of the styling of the way these videos, these kind of digital learning content will support you in your delivery to apprentices. But like I said, they're not going to prepare apprentices for endpoint assessment completely or ensure job competence. They are a supplementary tool to support you in your high quality learning program you're already delivering to your apprentices. So moving on, Moving on to endpoint assessment. And as you would expect, Pearson, we are a ESFA approved endpoint assessment organisation, because if we weren't, you wouldn't be here today listening to some of the support we have available for you. And in terms of that support, there's 4 real kind of areas we're focusing on at the moment. Our EPA resources, documents and guidance. These are the support you get when you sign up to Pearson as an endpoint assessment organisation. Essentially the free of charge support that will support you in preparing your apprentices for endpoint assessment. And again, this is designed to be used at the onset of your learners apprenticeship program from day one, to prepare them for endpoint assessment from day one, so that when they get to that gateway, they are ready, they are familiar with what's required for endpoint assessment. We've also created some digital learning content called Practice and Prepare that I'll briefly cover. An overview of why we think Pearson Endpoint Assessment Service is the best endpoint assessment service there on the market. And Smart EPA is the operational system, the management system we're using to ensure that endpoint assessment is a smooth process from start to finish for you and your apprentices. In terms of the documents and guidance, so when you as an organisation commit to Pearson's endpoint assessment service, and if you haven't already done so, please do contact your account manager or account services team. For every standard that Pearson engage with in terms of endpoint assessment, we have created already an EPA specification and an additional resources document. And these are critical documents because it contains all the information that you as an apprenticeship training provider will need to prepare your apprentices for endpoint assessment. It will also contain all the information that apprentices need around the evidence that they need to share with their endpoint assessor to make their assessment decision. So that they're critical, and they should have real strong visibility very early within your apprenticeship learning program. What I would say is employers are a different beast altogether. Often they don't relate directly to specification type documents. So actually, as an apprenticeship training provider, my feedback would be to actually look at those specifications and think about how they can be translated into a more employer focused language for your employers, which may be different from employer by employer. On our website, you will see the EPA specification document, and what that is, it's an overview of the apprenticeship standard and how Pearson will assess endpoint assessment. It's a document that's visible to everybody, and you don't need to be a registered organisation with Pearson to access that. But it essentially covers everything that's in the apprenticeship standard, everything that's in the assessment plan, and is really that high-level tool for you to view Pearson's approach to endpoint assessment for each standard. The real kind of value gritty document is that additional resources document, and this document is only available once an organisation is committed to Pearson for endpoint assessment, and it's available via Smart EPA, which we'll talk about briefly at the end. Within that additional resources document, what it does, it contains that level of detail that's not contained in the apprenticeship standard and the assessment plan. It contains the detail around actually what will the endpoint assessor be looking for from your apprentices and how will they be assessing them. So in that respect, it contains the evidence requirements. We've also included in there content to support delivery, and this is particularly important where there is a tested element of endpoint assessment. So when I mean content, it's really that knowledge content that may be included in the tested element of endpoint assessment, so typically a multiple choice test. Where there's a portfolio of assessment in the endpoint assessment, for example, within the management standards, we've provided the portfolio guidance. So actually, what should a learner be including within their portfolio to best prepare them for endpoint assessment, but also various templates to help them formulate their portfolio. And in those standards where there may be projects, again, thinking level 5 ops manager and level 3 business administrator, we've also got those project and assessment briefs within that additional resources document. So just to kind of reiterate there, the EPA specification is that high level overview of Pearson's approach and is available for everybody. The additional resources document is that high value document that really articulates how endpoint assessment will take place and what the endpoint assessor will be looking for. And it's that document you really need to use with your apprentices and familiarize them with and support them with from the onset to be best prepared for endpoint assessment. Where there is a on-screen tested element, we will create sample assessments. And what I mean there is a practice test that replicates the real life test. In most scenarios, we'll only create one practice test. The reason there being that there's only a finite amount of questions that you actually can then cover in on-screen paper or an on-screen test. So we need to ensure that those practice tests don't give away potentially live test items, hence why there's usually only one. And like I mentioned before, something we are building upon is our online training events and our face-to-face training events to help you prepare. And please do contact your account manager for that. I probably should have stopped earlier, but at this point, I'm going to pick up a few more questions so that we can cover them. So going back to the qualifications, are the mapped qualifications different to the current certificates and diplomas? They absolutely are. So my understanding what you perhaps mean by current certificate and diplomas are those qualifications that were created for the SACE and SASWA frameworks. They're completely different to those qualifications. At the onset of new standards, what we did was we mapped those SACE qualifications against the new standards to identify coverage, really as a stopgap to support you if you were delivering at the very early stages new apprenticeship standards. The feedback we had received from a number of different stakeholders was actually there's a number of gaps in those qualifications that sometimes required additional time or you didn't feel that they aligned closely enough to the standards. So these new qualifications align directly to the new standards, and the mapping document is included within the specification. So brand new qualifications launched within the past 6 months, and we will have a development cycle to continue to support new standards with similar qualifications. And another question. Pearson has been slow in producing resources to support standards and EPA. Are they substantial? Thank you for your candid honesty, and I wouldn't disagree. I think one of the reasons why our speed to market has been slower than what we'd like is that we wanted to ensure actually that the content we produce, the learning content, replicates endpoint assessment and replicates the skills, knowledge, and behaviours that learners are going to need to demonstrate for competence, and apprentices are going to need to demonstrate for endpoint assessment. And as you would expect, when the apprenticeship standards and assessment plans were first published, they're so light in terms of content, it's difficult to create meaningful learning resources at that point without having the EPA specification, the additional resources document to support. Granted, really good point, but we are moving fast and we are looking at how we can become more agile in the way we create learning content. I think you'll be pleased when we go to market with specifically App 360 of what we've produced, but please do look at the qualifications, please do look at our EPA specs. In comparison to what is out there in the market, the quality of those specifications, I believe, is a completely different standard. They don't replicate the standards word for word. They actually give you meaningful information around what those skills, knowledge, behaviours mean, and what apprentices should be showing, and what the endpoint assessor will be assessing. Okay, so that's the last question. So we'll move on. We've got a few more slides left. So practice and prepare is one of the earliest learning content we created to support new apprenticeship standards. These were really designed at a time when the standards were very new and there was very limited information in terms of the additional content. That being said, there's still some fantastic resources within Practice and Prepare. We've created a number of activity sheets that can be used for your apprentices to kind of generate that formative on-program learning evidence that they can put into their portfolio. We also have those PowerPoint presentations which essentially support you in those areas of the standard where you think the kind of chalk and talk delivery is required, really those knowledge areas. So those are included, and a number of other things such as multiple choice questions to support those endpoint assessments assessments where there are tested elements. And in addition, we've also got some synoptic test videos. And what these are designed to do is to give you an indication or give your apprentices a feel for how things such as observations might work, how professional discussion might happen, that content they can kind of look at in their own time, or and their off-the-job elements within their apprenticeship to familiarise themselves with endpoint assessment. We support those in a number of areas such as customer service, team leader, business administrator, adult care. Those you can see on the visual, and there's a link there to the bottom of this page where you can access more information on the Practice and Prepare resources. I think what I would say is over time, Practice and Prepare is likely to be phased out and replaced by our App 360 learning content platform. So hopefully after kind of listening to me speak for 45 minutes, you have a good idea of actually what some of the benefits are of Pearson's endpoint assessment service and what we're trying to achieve with our offer. And some of those are bullet pointed here. What you can be assured of is receiving a high quality, consistent, reliable service so that you can support on concentrating on supporting your apprentices. Essentially, the mantra we use is allow us to do what we do best so that you can do what you do best. You can be confident that the endpoint assessors we use for endpoint assessment are occupationally competent people within the workplace. We don't simply use existing standards verifiers who are fantastic in their role but may not have been in the job role for extended periods of time. We think it's important actually that your employers are confident that our endpoint assessors are occupational competent. In terms of rich feedback and results, our results time is 5 working days, and you will receive rich feedback from your endpoint assessor around the successful or additional work that needs to happen for your apprentices to achieve endpoint assessment. I often see out there in the network a number of endpoint assessment organisations advising that we're fantastic, we do remote assessment and it saves time. Brilliant, so do Pearson, but our approach here is actually that it's customer first. We're flexible enough to offer remote endpoint assessment, but at the same time we're more than happy to do face-to-face endpoint assessment. I think it's about understanding and working with you from a very early phase around what assessment approach meets the needs of your employers and your apprentices. And having underpinning all of that is Smart EPA, which is our apprentice management system to support the planning of EPA from start to finish. And again, here is those details on what Smart EPA is, around how it can support online endpoint assessment delivery, create administrative efficiencies. I think the important thing to point out actually is that all of the free of charge content we've covered in this webinar is hosted on Smart EPA. So it's all in a single place available for you to download. The caveat being there is actually Smart EPA is only available to those centres who have committed to Pearson endpoint assessment services, with the exception of the EPA specification, which you can download from our Pearson website. So finally, if you do have any questions around anything contained within this webinar, our contact details are here and they're also dotted around the webinar.